All right, everybody. Welcome back. It's Jay's Corner. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Hmm. Are we up? Are we up? I don't think we are. One day I'll get it right. One day I'll get it right. All right, there we go. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jay. I'm the author of Maximize Your Medicare. We're going to go quick. It's Labor Day. It's also game day. By the way, if you don't like my wardrobe, I'm gonna put myself in the corner, and then you can put like a post-it in there. If you don't like or you can send me an email info@gh2benefits.com. I'll send you my mailing address. You can send me whatever you think that I should be wearing. Uh, Unlikely I'm going to actually use it. All right, let's get started here. This website, jo.substack.com, it is a free newsletter. You can get also, there's a subscription edition where I'm giving you extras, including a new copy of Maximize Your Medicare, my book. That's yours for free. There's also other information in there that I'm not really at liberty to say here in public. I've got reasons for that. I'm the very highly regulated. In addition to that, today's not a financial advice. Never is. Information only. As I said, while I'm qualified to do so and licensed to give financial advice, not here, not here on YouTube. Uh, this video that you're seeing here, Invest Smarter, and Lester, it gets literally no better than her and her background. She is an ex portfolio manager for a target date fund, which sits basically in every 401k plan at this time. In fact, it's the default, selection if you work at an employer that offers 401k plans. We discuss how portfolios are constructed and the challenges that she faced as a manager, what she looks at, how she goes about it, how she changed it, how she modified it. The reality is, I've left the breadcrumbs of her entire process the entire time here on jo.substack.com. Nothing she said really was a surprise to me. In fact, what I wanted to do is I wanted to intervene and actually make comments about her comments. But the reality is, I'm more backed up than at any point over the past decade. I've not had time. There's a reason that the last live broadcast was this long ago. I want to say, what, Memorial Day? My goodness. So anyway, check this out. You'll see so much free information about different aspects of your financial life, whether that be investment strategy, health insurance, of course, as you understand that I'm author of Maximize Your Medicare, summer reading list for yourself, and of course, a little bit of time for some levity and things like that. So, Jay's Corner, I'm absolutely in the camp that personal finance is noble. If we just stick to the basics, get the basics right, so that you're not distracted by the tremendous, overwhelming amount of noise, I'm empathetic to that. gh2benefits.com. So what I've done here is very importantly, I have taken the Jay's Corner and split it into all the different little snippets within every newsletter. In every newsletter, so many different topics. We needed some way to categorize things. Here it is. Let's just try to turn this down here for just a real quick second. And there it is. So what we have is all of these different topics. And you can see health insurance is a tax, Affordable Care Act. And on it goes. So that you can kind of capture all the different comments that I have on a specific topic. Too many topics to cover them all. YouTube has made the world worse because what it has done, it has pigeonholed you into as if you should go into only a specific niche. The problem with that is that the topics clash. And when they clash, the cost to you is high. That if you overlook the fact that they can clash against each other, then what you thought to be simple and could be in isolation all of a sudden becomes complicated because this topic bangs into the other one. And in this clash is money, and lots of money. It's not all bad. In other words, if you understand the interaction, what can happen? Early retirement, what you thought was impossible, can be possible. Now, for that, you need high end, in my opinion. I'm the biased here. I'm, how to manage the clash. And here it is here. So I'm going to give you the sneak peek here. This sits here in GH2 benefits under client portal under services. This is the price list. Now, that said, I'm just going to tell you now, 2024, these prices will not look the same. They're going higher. They're going notably higher. That said, I'm going to lock these prices for the rest of the year. You can send me emails, info@gh2benefits.com. Part of the clash sits here, which is one of these things is that I am Education Fellow for the Alliance for Lifetime Income. It is a nonprofit organization, a think tank of sorts, which is educating people about protected lifetime income. Financial products, unfortunately, have a naming problem, all of them, candidly speaking, because what ends up happening is people take shortcuts. They want to attach a stigma to a particular word. Medicaid, for example. The Affordable Care Act is about a tax credit, not necessarily about Medicaid, which is a social welfare program funded by the federal government along in a partnership with the states, right? Medicaid expansion is lower health insurance as a result of a tax credit. Nevertheless, lumped in under Medicaid. Same thing here. Annuity. That's the name of the product. If you look at certain TV commercials, you'll see mud balls thrown at it. Yeah, but it can fill a particular function. And so what ends up happening is you get distracted by the pushback and the objections. To which I'm saying Jay's Corners here is to make sure that you understand what you are doing. Meaning, if you need a can of soup, right? Let's not get distracted. Let's not get distracted by this, that, and the other. Inside this soup may be I'm not a sponsor for Progresso. Inside this soup may be some ingredient, some aspect, some characteristic that you value highly. And if your advisor or the detractor cannot recreate the soup, you need to think about what the quality of the pushback actually is. Let's continue on here. This is my book, MaximizeYourMedicare.com. I'm going to give you an update here on health insurance. We're going to move around here quite quickly. The new version coming out in January, we hope. Part of the backup here is I've already sent in most of the edits. We're waiting only for Part B premiums and the newest updates about 2024. I'll give you the Medicare update now. In fact, I'm going to change the agenda already. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning in like a panic. Like, oh no. I don't have the agenda. I don't know what I'm going to say. I've got like 30 or 40 tabs up here that I'm going to review or going to try to get through. Here we go. Medicare updates. First of all, October 4th, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Shout out to them, of course. This library system, not coincidentally, right? I'm biased. It's the OG. Absolutely is the OG. Meaning that I've presented every year that Maximize Your Medicare has been, even from self-published version, that makes it the 11th year. It's something crazy like that. Don't write a book. I'm going to give the updates on how to think about Medicare. In addition to that, I'm going to also be presenting it in behind for the paid subscribers to Jay's Corner. So when I said over here that one of these extras is going to be here under Jay's Corner for the paid subscribers, I'm going to be giving this presentation and answering questions along the way. The book revisions and preview, I'm going to give it to you here, which is the key thing is going to be Part D. The key thing's going to be Part D. Here's my quotes here on thestreet.com, out just the other day, I want to say. I am quoted here in thestreet.com, Bob Powell. He's the journalism, one of two journalists, media OGs. Thank you to him for multiple years, which is that the key changes are Medicare Part D. So we've had a bunch of headlines about prescription drug negotiation. That stuff doesn't take effect until 2026 to begin, okay? There's going to be tons of noise, pharmaceuticals launching lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. All of that's expected, right? Where you stand depends on where you sit. Very simple rule to understanding other parties when they're this big in stakeholders. So, of course, insurance carriers, healthcare providers, whether that be hospitals, physicians, big pharma, tons of other specialties. I'm not trying to minimize them. Nurses, specialists, testing, etc. There are healthcare deliveries so complicated. I don't think there's an easy solution. You would have to strip it down all the way down to taxation. So as a result, what I'm trying to do is trying to help people understand Medicare, health insurance, so vital in a financial plan. Period. That's it. It's as simple as that, to be candid with you. Let's go back to this, to the agenda here. I'm going to just try to clip along. I'm going to try to keep it within an hour. Here we go. Health insurance. What we have is Medicaid cancellations nationwide. Here on this channel, you'll see a short. We live in YouTube's world. Like, this is YouTube's world. I'm just living in it, right? So as a result, any information I can try to give to people, I'm trying to give as freely as possible. Medicaid cancellations nationwide. So, quick review. Pandemic ends. During the pandemic, no Medicaid review existed. Pandemic ends. Medicaid review is done monthly. People are being kicked off en masse. I've made light of this. Readers of the channel have known that I've said this. I've said this on many, many occasions. To me, this is entirely expected. And the fact that the new headlines are, ooh, it exceeds expectations. It exceeds expectations. And you can see it here. Many are unaware of the process. HHS alarmed by the rapid pace of dropping people from... No. This should not be a surprise. The federal government is surprised. I'm not sure why. Right? Because the reality is the states have been... They've got lists of people that they suspect are no longer eligible. And as a result, they're being uninvited, right, to Medicaid. They may have gotten a job. And then the errors begin. Let's take a look at them here. Rather than here, let's start here. Oh. So you can see the ACA errors here. So if you've lost Medicaid, first of all, let's be clear. You have a life qualifying event. You can access the Affordable Care Act. Absolutely. You have a life qualifying event. You will be accepted. That's a federal rule. There are deadlines. The deadlines can be flexed based on the state. In other words, we've got a base case set of rules, and then the state can modify those rules. Insurance is a state-regulated commercial activity. So you need to know the rules, but the reality is if you get a letter that you've lost your Medicaid or may be ruled ineligible, you've got this life qualifying event. Please share this information. There is no community in the United States where this is not going to occur. A stone's throw away from your house, a 5-minute drive from your house, someone is unaware that they could be kicked off Medicaid. Murphy's Law tells you what's going to happen next. They're going to get sick, and they're going to require healthcare services and find out that they're not eligible for Medicaid after the fact. By then, I can't help you. The misunderstanding of the ACA and what it actually is and how to get the lower health insurance premium. I'm going to show you the website here. Let me just quickly go over there here. So this is the free quoting tool. This is the free quoting tool where you can get an estimate of your health insurance premium. Let's just take a quick example. Let's just call yourself in Chicago, right? And you can see it here. Let's just call yourself, 61. You're a male. And then let's continue. And you're just a single male and you make $40,000, not $400,000 a year. You get no tax credit. So you can say, no, let's not do this. You can see it here. This is a non-trivial number, obviously. So in other words, you have a sticker price. You've got savings. That's the savings, $637 in this particular example. If you see it, so let's say you've lost, you have a change in eligibility right here, right? Because you've lost, and you can see, you can look back over the last 60 days for Illinois, and now let's just breeze by here. There are steps that I'm skipping in the interest of time. See your plans, and what you've got here is you can see health insurance at $1 a month. This is entirely possible. All's not lost. I don't want to call this a negative here, right? Meaning that if you've lost Medicaid, you do have if you've lost your job, for example, you're unemployed, you retire, you may be able to get access to the Affordable Care Act if you've had health insurance prior to, as a result of being employed, for example. Nevertheless, even in there, you can see there's going to be errors, meaning that if you're the current employee, you cannot access this 637. You cannot access this 637 if your employer offers you health insurance. There are all these errors. What ends up happening is when you try to get this, that you are filing with the IRS. When the IRS reconciles, they're going to ask you, do you have health insurance? Yes? Okay, well, you don't qualify for this. You need to pay it back. Like I said, I understand that, you want to make it easy. I get all of that. But this is one of those situations of things clashing, right? You've got, in isolation, this is true. Without the nuance, however, what do you get? You get a mistake. You get a mistake. And there it is. And in this case, if this has persisted for a year, you didn't know how this actually worked. 12 times 600. 12 times 600. So it's over $8,000. I'm going to have dry throat here. If you are eligible for Medicaid, you cannot simultaneously have the lower health insurance premium. Right? You cannot do that. So again, back to here. So for example, if you're on Medicaid, meaning let's just say, for example, you make $20,000 a year. You can see it here. You're not applicable for savings. This is why you need to have facts correct about your estimate of household income. We'll have more errors here. Let's just say, for example, you're thinking about retirement. You've retired early. You can say, oh, I'm going to get the ACA, and you need money, and you take it out of your 401k. So my point here is that you may have capital gains, dividend income, distributions from mutual funds, withdrawals from qualified funds. And when you do that, right, it's included in income. Every single year, bar none, somebody comes to me, says after the fact, it doesn't happen when we're, to be candid with you, because I vetted this. Every single year this happens. A $10,000 a year error. Every single year. So while these are huge in your favor, the rules wildly in your favor, due to the fact that you can get access to the Affordable Care Act, you still need to go through these nuances and make sure. It's a list. It's a checklist. I've sent you this checklist in the subscriber version to Jay's Corner. This link here, which I will include in the program notes. Let me just do that now, actually. Have I signed into chat? No, I have not signed into chat. I will put it up after the broadcast. It's available everywhere. This is the free quoting tool, which takes you over here where you can do this. And you can get an idea about the scope and scale of how big these subsidies, the advanced premium tax credit, actually is. The clash here is the financial advisory wealth management registered investment advisor community, generally speaking, glosses over this. I don't like Obamacare. I don't understand health insurance. This isn't about that. That's about the selection of the plan. However, this top panel here is a financial planning matter. There's no shortcut here. So as a result, you need to have command here, but you can see how much worth it can be. This exercise, the plus side, is if you are handling it and planning for it, you can see $500 a month is saved times 12, $6,000. Couple now, double it, $12,000 a year. If you have $50 million, you're glossing over this. You don't qualify at all. However, that's this amount of the population, zero basically, for the vast majority. Big number, money that can be you can turn in for food. So please don't gloss over this. And again, the bottom line here is please tell someone else. So important. Every community, every location. All right. We're making good progress. So here, I'm going to talk about financial planning here in what I'm thinking about Q4. First, about financial planning, and we're going to get to it right away here Let's just see, where do we have it? Okay. I don't think that this is it, is it? This is the timeline that I'm using, generically speaking, for these people here. So under the Lifetime Financial Planning Service, there's not a commercial for it. It's more about the different. Now here is then what I said at the beginning. All of these topics here on your left-hand column, they can clash. That's the point, right? And as a result of the possible cooperation or lack of cooperation, your financial plan has changed. And this is step one, which is addressed here. Too many people don't know where they stand. This I find puzzling. This I find very, very puzzling. People avoid the information. They don't gather the information. They don't take proper stock of where they stand. And because of that, and if you think that I'm making it up, like the people who are followers who have been following for years and have reached out to me and we've discussed this or that detail, this or that silo, they get maybe too much information. And unfortunately, sometimes they think, okay, well, Jay's told me this amount, that's the entire kit and caboodle. No. I struggle the most in trying to dilute as much as possible without cutting meat off the bone. That doesn't mean that was the entire limb. No. Okay, by no means. And that's the perfect example is here, Ann Lester. Literally, if I'd gone and cut this off and made full comments on her comments, that's 10 hours of videos. 10 hours. Easy. I'm low at 10. I'm sure of it. But anyway, let's just go here is that what ends up happening is people don't get proper objective stock. This is the no judgment zone here. That's why we have this one-way conversation. I'm not here to judge what you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The fact that, you decided that, going on a cruise when you were 35 years old for 3 years was a good idea during your peak, career development age. But we're here today. We're here today. Key step number one is to get proper stock of what your situation is. And if you think that this is, Jay being Captain Obvious, just take a look at this. More Americans are carrying debt, and many of them don't know their APR. People don't know what their borrowing cost is. And this is just like crazy. Of this group of debt holders, 43, they don't know the attached interest rates. How is that possible? And look at this. 50% of Gen Zers, 46 of millennials, 43. The reality is these numbers, all of them, every single one of them should be zero. Should be zero. My credit score is basically 800, right? And when I sign into the bank, I'm pre-approved. Of course I'm pre-approved. My credit score is 800. I clicked on one the other day just to see what was going on. The interest rate was 29%. 29%. Okay? So you can see how costly that you don't have the right information is. You follow the cash flow. When you evaluate financial topics, you follow the cash flow. If I have to pay for every dollar 30 cents in interest immediately from the time that statement closes, put it this way, right? What is the likelihood that I'm going to make 30% on investments, right? Let's say I borrowed the money to invest. I took a cash advance from my credit card, right? And then went to and invested in the stock market. So I certainly have to pay the 30%. I don't know exactly what I'm going to make if I use that money and bought investments. Does that mean that borrowing is bad inherently? No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. Right? Why? Because maybe maybe you have a contraption that is going to make you, $6 trillion. Okay. Well, borrowing at 25% is all right. But you can see down here, you better make sure that if you're going to borrow, you need to make to cover the borrowing cost plus the risk. You need to be paid for that risk. Why? Because you certainly have to pay the 30%, 25 to 30%. I was stunned. I had no idea that that was the rate on credit cards today. And you can see the financial planning implications. There's a reason that one of my followers, stocks for show, bonds for dough. Right? This is one of my crying calls. One of my slogans here for Jay's Corner. It's because people don't understand this nearly well enough. That R, which is the interest rate, the 29%, has moved so much in such a short time as a result of the Fed trying to fight inflation, which I'm not saying is wrong. But in doing so, what it has done, it has changed everything in financial planning. All of it. Because you can see here, and now you can see here that why I'm involved here in the Alliance for Lifetime Income. For just as a simple example. Everything, what does this mean? If you sit there with excess capital, excess cash, you're a winner. Interest rates now for cash, 4.5%. You can see it here. U.S. government 2 years. This is low. This is old. You can see, for example, on annuities, the interest rates are higher. The interest rates credited on universal life insurance, higher. Meaning these other elements sitting in here, extra structures, is way higher now. Way higher. So as a result, if these are now pluses, what does this do? This allows you to meet your cash flow means where you didn't necessarily think you could. Because during the time you're working and you're just thinking to yourself, okay, I need a better job, I need more wages, etc., etc. I get all of that. That is not wrong. What I'm saying, though, is what you do with the excess now has other avenues, which is not only equity. And the reason I say that is that you can see here. I sat in a think tank, or I sat at the Alliance for Lifetime Income. We had a symposium. The guest speaker list was like crazy, meaning that, this was one of the speakers. He was a panelist, to give you an idea. He sits he's an ex-economist at the U.S. Treasury, serving the President, Council of Economic Advisors. This was in a past life for him. He made some comments. Out of the side of his mouth, at the very last thing, beyond the scope, he said, oh yeah, by the way, higher interest rates have long-term implications for investment portfolios, and then glossed over it and moved on. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. The fact is this. And what he was referring to is this. Let's delete this. What he meant was this, is that big pools of capital here are saying compared to before, interest rates were at zero. When the denominator is zero over here, right? Risky assets are worth it. Why? Because there's no alternative. Right? You did not have the U.S. government bond 2-year maturity getting 4.5%. Short junk bonds 6%. The issue is that you're talking about the biggest, most important pools of capital, saying there are alternatives now. They're looking around the planet. They're looking around the planet. How do we know this? This video, we talked about it. Meaning that what they are all looking at it using this same lens, this same methodology. We'll swerve over here. This is a book you should, for people who really want, right? This book, In Pursuit of the Perfect Portfolio, is the name of the book. It's on the reading list that I've posted in a past, and this is the absolute. This list of the people that are profiled here on this book are the absolute who's who on investment theory. Black-Scholes, Eugene. This is how global portfolios get run. And they'll have their own view, nuances, but the theme across the board is going to be using modern portfolio theory. Well, guess what? They're going to be looking at this, and this R now is going to change. It's going to change the way that they're evaluating risky stuff. We talked about this risky stuff here because the targeted date funds are looking across it in the same way that the large pension funds are. This becomes your challenge because you can see it here. For everyday people, you just go, oh, I have no interest in this, so why don't I just put it in a targeted date fund? That's valid. That's valid, everybody, right? This person's not wrong. She's running the port. She has, in a past life, run the portfolio very, very consistently with everything in this book. There's not a violation of it. Their implementation will have nuances, right? In other words, BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, they'll have their own versions with different slight twists, different slight outlooks. Ann and I talked about it on that video. I refer to it as a crutch, but the reality is the breadcrumbs sit there on the newsletter on Jay's Corner. The issue here is now, as a result of all of this, is that this formula tells you that R is much, much different. That means the net present value of all stuff is now way different. Your takeaway here today, then is everything should be reviewed. You've been, as I said in the description for this video, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And that's why I'm going to show you this, which is I'm going to increase this. And let's just do this. So this is the S&P 500. Right? This is the S&P 500. And let's just make this large, and now you can understand my panic, 6 o'clock this morning. I'm like, oh no. So I've just, had from a previous example. You can see what the investment community does. Right? And what you'll see is what? You'll see the following. Yeah. But if we expand this out, we are no better than 2 years ago today. This is the 2-year look back. There's the number, right? You can see it. All you've gone is from 445, and this is too low, right? This is because due to the graph, et cetera, et cetera. But like I said, this is the 2-year look, right? Close 445.44. That maybe you can't see it. That's what I'm telling you. 445.44 to 451. So if you means you went 6 divided 445, you made 1.3% in gains plus dividends over 2 years. 2 years. That's it. But now, what has notably changed, right, is that you'll see this. And I'm just going to use the just because for ease. This is the 10-year yield. So a 10-year U.S. government security. Whoops, that's not it, obviously. There it is. In other words, risk-free U.S. government bond, 10-year in maturity, 4.17. Now, and you can see its rise. 2 years ago, 1.34 to 4.17. Okay? Given that, you can see where I'm saying. How huge this denominator has increased. And oh yeah, by the way, this is not 1 plus r times 2. This is 1.1 plus r squared, cubed, 4th power, 5th power, 6th power. Every time this goes higher, NPV goes lower. Meaning all the prices have changed. All of them. And more importantly, comparing this soup to this soup is now way different. The risk is now different because there is an alternative now. This is what I'm saying. So now we're here today. Okay, so remember I've said that in the past. We're here today. And the good thing is that compared to a year ago, and it's more than, this is not fair, right? Because this is going to be wrong because the turmoil happened before this. So this is not I wish I could actually do this correctly. Can't. There we go. So actually we can. I didn't even know that. I'll show it to you. So we'll be able to see it graphically. More reasons to look at everything now. Examine every last rock. Every last rock is the fact that you can see we're not better off. We're worse off. Over here, right? So we are basically unchanged from the time that and this is not the high right here is, right? The Q1 of 2022, you've now returned back to that same number. 4, there it is. It's given you a window. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. That is the reason I'm saying this. Everything should be reviewed. The prices of equity have returned. You've not made, they've just returned. Maybe. And now at least you're in the ballpark. But as a result of this, all of these other things have now changed. You can see here. And that's why I highlighted this in blue. The minimum rate on other securities. And annuities is just one. It can be CDs. It can be other things that all... the price of everything basically has changed. As a result, what you thought was a good value, risk for your risk, has changed. And it just so happens that as a result of this, the fact that we've come back to this degree tells you it's prudent to take a look now. Why? Because because nothing said that we were returning. Again, if you thought, okay, and I will have some slight, while the framework is correct, there will be certain statements that got made between Ann and I that I would have stopped and said, okay, if we go down this wormhole, that'll take 2 hours. I mean, like, oh no. But anyway, you can see it here, which is, okay, it always comes back, can be a thought. The physicist, the scientist, anyone who has taken physics, intro to physics, right? This can't be wrong, right? Nobody said it couldn't have continued down. There was no such thing as that, right? In other words, if that's the case, there's a reason I'm saying, please don't look a gift horse in the mouth here, right? This isn't wrong. At any point in time, we could have gone up or down. It just so happens we have moved back to the spot. Let me see if I can get some of this stuff off. We've moved back to this spot. We've moved back to this spot. As a result, all your allocations of what you think you should be allocating to, so that you can fill in these blanks here through time. This is what a financial plan is. We are starting from here. Then we are taking a look at what exists on the planet. We don't determine what the price is, right? I do not determine, and I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. Anyone who says they have a crystal ball, if you really had the funny thing is that here's the funny. Someone says, we don't have a crystal ball. Then they make predictions. Okay? And then they also say, see, follow me, I'm the accurate predictor. And then their also recommendation is run a diversified portfolio. Do you see? And you can hear these sound bites, even within the same conversation. There's an internal inconsistency. Listen to me, I'm a great predictor. Yeah? If you're a great predictor, I don't need a diversified portfolio. I don't. You know what? If it's going to be heads or tails, guess what? We can fly to Nevada. We'll be home by dinner. And you'll be retired. Why? Because they'll take your bet for $1. They'll take your bet for 2, which will turn to 4, which will turn to 8, to 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. We're home by dinner. 1 unit to 256. No problem. No problem. So yet, that same person says, run a diversified portfolio. What? By the way, you have that, and people say, okay, let's follow Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett runs 90% of his portfolio in like 5 stocks. That's not diversified. By the way, you know, it's one of these misnomers in investment in, you know, when you see the financial press, which is, okay, well, be like Warren. Guess what? You can't be like him. He gets price execution. You have no chance of getting. 0. Right? During the great financial crisis. Yeah. I get preferred stock from Goldman Sachs at like double-digit %. You have no chance of getting that price. All right. The point here is you can see it here. And this is somebody really from the stable. Real. Okay? So I blacked this out. But you can see the ripple effect then can be. because this happened, because of the fact of this, because the inputs have changed, because of the fact that we've known this person has these sources, whatever it would be. And it doesn't matter. Every person's different, right? So as a result of this, when I add it all up, basically what we end up having is something different. What do we have? We've got something different. Now we know what risks we can fit so that we do this correctly. And this is bass backwards. Yes, I know, I almost swore. Right? This is bass backwards. The narrative you get, unfortunately, is as if someone has a crystal ball on this. And getting then, therefore, the results here. Not. That to me is backwards. Right? I want to know how to pay for my stuff over here. I need to make sure that this stuff is taken care of. Expenses, housing, taxes, health insurance. Then, okay, how am I going to get there? How am I going to piece this top section to get there? In order to get there, there are going to be different elements for different people in different situations. Now you can see how convoluted and how difficult the challenge is. I'm empathetic to that, right? Because of the fact that you're trying to get there, figure this out, how to get it using these different elements. Now you can understand this very bright green, my involvement here, right? Because it is a valuable layer guaranteed. Social Security, understanding the timing, important, no question. Right? Getting the most, no question. I want people to do that. Are there other ways at different age divisions? You're now 35, 2 children. Are there ways to plan out this? The answer is yes now. Why is it yes? I'll tell you why. It's yes now because of the denominator here is so much higher. The entire metric has changed. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. That's what I would say. Okay, let me see here. Down here, there's yes. Here we go. Let's just say that doesn't mean. So let's go to Q4. That's enough of kind of stuff here. You know what? I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this spreadsheet behind the paywall and Jay's Corner. And they're just going to be my notes. I have left a lot of breadcrumbs on this channel. A lot. Let's just take a look here. What I like to do to get a stock so that people aren't overwhelmed with the hot take, the headline. Right? Tesla down 5% the other day. Right. Jay Powell telling you that, higher for longer. I don't think there's no doubt. Here's where we are. This was what was this? This was a year and a half ago. Now let's update it for today. War still exists. But now what do we have? We're immunized. By immunized, what I mean is it doesn't make the headlines now. It doesn't. We've got a base case. That static case isn't being affected by a war headline. That's what I mean. We know the war still exists. The human tragedy. I'm not here about, you're blowing off the human tragedy element. No. What I'm saying, though, is a news headline about war isn't changing financial markets, right? The losses on Russian equities have been taken. right? They've been taken. And oh yeah, by the way, nowhere here, nowhere here are we looking backwards. Nowhere, right? Physicists don't either, by the way. I don't know any physicists. Anyway, what we have now here is this blue is still in place for the most part, right? And in fact, we've had dollar weaker until recently, right? I would say, to be giving you on where we have been, once I learn how to type, dollar weaker. So most of the first half of the year has been on US dollar weaker. Here it is. Yes, there's a number for that, for those of you keeping track, right? So here it is. DXY. No. There it is. Let's just call it this. Part of this is the fact that we have American bias, of course. You know, today from Ann Arbor, where we are 38 point, or we're like umpteen point favorites. Anyway, you can see it here, right? That in this year to date, the index is higher, but you can see we went from here down to here. And with it, created the stability necessary. Why? Mr. Germany is able to buy US stocks for cheaper because they took the euro and switched it into euro to buy US stuff. By the way, explained here. So foreign exchange, right? Remember, stocks for show, bonds for dough, basically meaning stocks are very much smaller than the bond market, and all of that is dwarfed by the foreign exchange market. Dwarfed. So when foreign exchange moves, big stuff moves. Big stuff by who? Big stuff by the hugest investors. Hugest. Right? National Pension Fund of Norway. Hello. Right? Not mutual fund number 473 million. That is not a pension fund of Norway, however, and I'm not, there's one in Singapore, and this is the smart end of the pool, right? No question, right? They're using, oh yeah, by the way, they're using this. But here we are, CalPERS in the United States, but the point is the foreign investors look to the dollar, and now all of a sudden US dollar stuff is cheap. Why? Because when they can switch their dollar into euro for cheap. Right? And then they can buy US stocks. So that's basically what has basically happened. So as a result of the fact that that stuff was all stable, now you can see that foreign exchange has helped. Let's just see here. Where do we even... Yikes. There you go. Shouldn't call this denominator. So now you're here. Now we're looking at X factors now going forward. This is a source of some concern to me, right? Is that what happens is, so now what my statement was at that time is that given all that stuff is stabilized and stocks were down at that point 15%, that wasn't terrible. That was to be candid with you. If I gave you the list of the inputs, I would have said if If a targeted date fund last year minus 15, minus 14%, right? Average 401k minus 20% according to Fidelity, minus 18% according to Vanguard. So TDF outperforming that 3 to 4% matters a lot. Matters a lot. We'll get to that. Here we are going forward, right? So these things, commodities here is going to be an issue, maybe. Let's talk about interest rates. Let's just talk about, we have to talk about AI. AI, QQQ, can they keep going? So this has been, the Magnificent Seven instead of, FANG, apparently. Not my phrase. Here we go. So you can see this. AI, the NASDAQ, are specifically here. Why is that? So many times you'll hear that AI and the NASDAQ are high duration. What high duration means is very sensitive to long dated R. Why is that? Let's just compare the two companies like this. Jay's pie in the sky, right, versus General Mills. Okay? General Mills, this is cash today. People buy Cheerios, 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 Cheerios. When is that? The C1s are all today. Right? McDonald's, Procter & Gamble. Jay's pie in the sky, maybe. So the point is this is a tech stock, and this is a consumer stock, consumer staple. So now you've had it, and now you see the conflict here that I'm gonna get to. So far, what has happened is two things. Jay's pie in the sky all of a sudden got a goosed. Why? Because Jay's pie in the sky depends on artificial intelligence. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Apple. Apple's involved in AI because the companies have to pay Apple to put their apps on the App Store. Right? So as a result, and so the prospects for CT here went straight higher, meaning that my pie in the sky idea all of a sudden got rushed forward. Maybe. Like I said, not certainly, maybe. When you couple that with the fact that, what happened? Interest rates stabilized. I didn't say lower, right? Because remember, in the newsletter, I've made mention of it multiple times. It is not only the level, it is the up and down, the variability. When just higher, the smart guys can plan. Yeah, just higher, Mark Zuckerberg couldn't plan. Smart guy, right? Let's all agree. You can dislike him all you want, right? This is not about that. What'd he do? Oh, my costs are too high. Guess what? X thousands of employees fired. Oh, we can't cover this cost. He planned. He's like, look, R's not going to come back down. The cost of me doing stuff is getting too costly. How do we cut costs? We put an X across, many tens of thousands of employees. Very simple. However, what you have also here is so it is not only just higher by itself, it was the instability, right? It is, so now what I'm saying is now stabilized. So it's higher. Now the question becomes then is back to here, which is, okay, fine. We're higher. At some point, is R too high so that the hopeful increase of J's pie in the sky, is it growing faster? This numerator has got to keep going fast at a rate higher than R is going higher. That's the question now. If there's any hiccup on either the numerator or the denominator, now you can see the issue. And this is why you have muted returns, right? NASDAQ's up X tens of percent. You don't see your global portfolios up X tens of percent. Why? Because they're looking at this other stuff. There is an alternative now. You can get alternatives here. Why are we taking risks here on J's pie in the sky? And for that, everyday people should take note. There are two reasons for this. Reason one, you should pay attention. And quite frankly, they have more money than you. Right? So if they sell, you know what? I got to bring out the elephant. This is a brass elephant. I think it's a treasure. Right? It's wildly undervalued. I made up the value. It's a value. Right? So, great. Only thing. Oh, wait. You can send me a Michigan State shirt, by the way. You can send me, and be sure to send a check. So I'll tell you, I promise this, Palace, great comment. I will promise to cash the check. I do not make promises about wearing Michigan State University clothes. All right. Anyway, back to this. I think this is worth $500. Except I know they're duplicates. And the person who's much, right? The person who has much more money than I, if he sells his brass elephants, my brass elephant ain't worth $500 anymore. Sorry. Right? In other words, yeah, in this particular case, that other guy is National Pension Fund. Absolutely. And by the way, that can be TDFs. Doesn't matter if you think your brass elephant or Jay's pie in the sky is worth $6 trillion a share. These guys sell. That's it. And what I'm saying is the reason I'm giving you this information is because that process happens this way. I've given it to you. Sitting in here, all across these are different insights on different ways that the guys who are doing what? These persons. This person. I'm giving you insight on how, and that's the reason for this conversation here with Ann. Is to help you understand, look, these persons are the not only highly educated, not only strictly qualified, following the principles, but in addition to that, they got more money than we do, right? Guess what? I could think that Ann's completely wrong. I don't, but you see what I'm saying? In that life, Well, she doesn't do that anymore, but you can see what my point is. I can say, you're off track. And we'll have certain different of opinion about how things should be handled. No doubt. Right? We can't all agree on every last detail. We don't disagree about the principles, right? But we can disagree on a small nuance. Doesn't matter if they hit the sell button and they take their equity. If they do this and change their pie in some meaningful way, guess what? I'm affected. So are you. For that reason, you need to understand how this stuff works. By the way, do you hear me saying that I should be paying attention to earnings per share or price targets for stocks? You don't. There's a reason for that. The simple reason: stocks for show, bonds for dough, y'all. All right, that's enough. I'm exhausted. Michigan's on in an hour. Next week, my other lifelong fandom, the Dallas Cowboys, take the field. Knock on wood. The great thing is they're great expectations. The bad thing is the downside means only disappointment. Let's hope not this year. Oh, it's going to be different this year. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Labor Day.